Welcome to the webinar, Mastering Google Analytics for 4 Key Reports Every Business Needs. If this is your first time joining our webinar, welcome, and allow me to introduce you to LOCALiQ. We are a multi-channel digital marketing agency. We specialize in SEO, paid search, paid social, display advertising, website design, and so much more. We are part of the NewsQuest Media Group, which is more than 200 trusted news brands across the UK. So even if you wanted to include print advertising into your integrated marketing strategy, we could support you with that. Today, I'm excited to guide you through the standard reports available in Google Analytics 4, also known as GA4. And our focus today will be on 4 key reports: the acquisition report, engagement, events, and the retention report. And these reports are essential for understanding how users interact with your business online. They'll enable you to make informed decisions that drive growth and improve user experiences as well. I'm Brandon Griffin. I'm head of B2B marketing for LOCALiQ, and I'll be your presenter today. And today's webinar is a mixture of presentation slides and screen shares. So I'll let everyone know right now the webinar is being recorded, and we'll be sure to send everyone the recording so you can watch it back and fast forward and replay all the parts you may need, especially as you go back to follow some of the steps yourself. So let's go ahead and jump in. And again, thank you to everyone who's going to the questions in the chat area to introduce yourself. I appreciate that. So jumping in, there's the chatter around GA4 has been happening for a while now, but as of July 2024, the day has finally come where we've had to say goodbye to Google Analytics as we once knew it, a version called Universal Analytics. And so hopefully your business got the memo and was able to download any old data and reports that you wanted to keep, because it may be too late to retrieve it now. And you want to make sure that you also have the new instance of GA4 set up and installed properly and on your website. And some people are asking, well, why did Google change, and why has Google Analytics updated? And the reason is because the internet has changed. Customers have so many new and different types of devices and ways of which they are connecting with and doing business on. And so Google has released GA4 as an updated, improved technology to help businesses keep track of all of these new ways that we're interacting with customers and collecting data. I want to do a quick poll. I'm going to activate it now. And just to see for the individuals that we have on the call, how much do you know about this new version of Google Analytics 4? Are you a beginner? Are you an intermediate? Are you an expert? If you can let me know, that would be good as we kind of proceed with this webinar. I'll know everyone's frame of reference, as well as the resources that we provide to you afterwards will be really good to understand. All right, we've got a good amount of people who have voted. I'll give you 2 more seconds to get your vote in on the poll. How much do you know about Google Analytics? All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and share the results. Yep, so about 64% of the individuals on the call today are beginners, and then we've got 33% who've got a little bit of experience with GA4. So thanks for participating in that. Let me just get back to this slide. Awesome. So if you're new to this conversation about Google Analytics 4, don't worry. Here are 2 resources that you'll find very helpful. We've got a Web Analytics 101 blog that talks about why tracking data on your website is important. And then we have a webinar that we recorded a few months ago leading up to the transition to GA4 that's now available on demand, Mastering GA4, Your Questions Answered. And that webinar breaks down feature by feature what's new in GA4 and how it compares to the older version so many of us are familiar with. And so I highly recommend watching that. In fact, as we move through the slides, I'm going to highlight a number of helpful resources you can refer back to as you review the recording from this webinar. So jumping in, the first report that I'm going to show you is the user acquisition report. The user acquisition report in GA4 is a key tool that provides insights into how new users are discovering your website or your app. It focuses on channels, sources, and mediums that are driving first-time users to your website, which helps you understand where your new users are coming from and from which marketing efforts as well that are most effective in attracting them. And so an example of this would be if you are running multiple marketing campaigns across different platforms, the user acquisition report will allow you to see which platforms are bringing the most first-time visitors. And then this data can guide your future marketing strategy and helps you focus on the most effective channels to grow your audience. Featured here is, before I move on, is a link to a blog on our website that talks about the difference between organic and paid marketing. And so I encourage you to read it later to determine which is best for your business. So in just a moment, I'm going to switch screens and show you live in GA4 how to access some of the reports that we're talking about. And but before I go, here's a reference of some of the key things that we're going to see. Things like medium, source, the campaign traffic, that's the campaign where traffic is coming through. And I'll talk through all of those in just a moment. Let me switch my screens here. Pull this over. Okay, so it should catch up in just a second. All right, great. So I'm currently logged into a demo account of Google Analytics. Again, for instructions on how to log in, I'm going to ask that you refer to the on-demand webinar that I mentioned earlier. And the first report we'll explore is the acquisition report, which answers the most fundamental question, one of the most fundamental questions for any business, which is how are users finding us? And this report allows you to see various channels through which users are arriving to your website or your app, be it through search engines, social media, direct visits, or paid campaigns. So to get there, assuming you're already logged in, you click on the Reports tab right here, and then you navigate to the Life Cycle section, which is right here, and you'll find Acquisition. And here you can choose between Overview, User Acquisition, Traffic Acquisition. Overview is just some summarized high-level insights. User Acquisition, which shows you data about new users, people who are coming to your website for the first time. And then Traffic Acquisition includes data from all users who are both new and returning. So I'll click into the user acquisition report now, and key metrics that you'll want to pay attention to includes engaged sessions. So here you'll see engaged sessions. This tells you how often users are visiting your site. And then you'll see a few over event count, and event count measures the number of times these visits have led to a desired action, like a purchase or a sign up on your website. And we'll talk more about that once we get to the events report. And then you can do things like change the date range. Right now we're looking at data and traffic from the last 28 days. I can easily change it to the last 30 days, last 90 days, and you'll see the metrics start to change. And then you can even filter, you can even add some additional filters. Right now we're looking at first primary first user by the channel group of which they came, we can change it to see the source of all the traffic. So that's here, and you can change it to see which campaign perhaps drove that traffic. Here you see, so in this particular account, this is a website that's owned by Google. It's a demo account, and it's like a fake shop, a fake store. And so we're seeing that they've got some shopping free listings type campaigns. They've got a campaign on YouTube that's bringing traffic to their website. And then they've got a display and video campaign that is evergreen, that's always on. And so when you log into Google Analytics, you'll see your own content and pages and campaigns represented here. So it'll look a little bit different, but this is the setup. So for example, if you're running a Facebook ad campaign, you can use this user or even the traffic acquisition report to see how much of that traffic that campaign is driving compared to other methods, other channels, compared to email or organic search. And if it's underperforming, then that insight will prompt you to adjust your targeting for that particular campaign or even your creative strategy. If it's not bringing you the amount of users you were expecting, perhaps you'll see that engagement time may be low. Here you can track the engagement time. I'll go into that a little bit later. So here you can see when people come directly to our website for this particular company, they're only spending 38 seconds on the page. But if they were referred to the website from another partner's website or channel, they're actually spending 2 minutes on the site. So that should encourage your business to double down on who's referring traffic to our business and how can we create more partnerships with them. All right, so I'm going to go back to the slides. Here we go. All right, so moving on, just to summarize, here are 5 ways that once you start to explore GA4 and the user acquisition report, these are 5 ways that your business can then begin to utilize it. Number 1, the report helps you to determine which channels are the most effective in acquiring new users, and that'll enable you to allocate marketing resources more effectively. Number 2, by analyzing which campaigns or sources are driving the most new users, you can refine your marketing efforts to maximize your reach and your impact. And so you could even tailor your messaging and acquisition strategies to resonate with targeted audience segments, enhancing the effectiveness of your campaigns. And then beyond just acquisition, the report provides insights into how users behave after arriving on your website, such as their engagement levels or conversion rates. And that understanding allows you to identify potential pain points or areas of improvement in the whole user experience, making your website or your app even more appealing and then easier to navigate sometimes. And number 4, utilize social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, X, or Twitter for targeted advertising. You can collaborate with influential individuals or micro-influencers in your niche to promote your website or your product, and that also helps to enhance user acquisition or helping people find your website. And then finally, the 5th way your business can start using the user acquisition report in GA4 is to encourage your existing customers to refer your app or products to others by implementing a referral program with incentives. And that strategy can lead to increased word of mouth promotion and again, help new people find your website that haven't been on it before. And again, here's a quick resource. It's called How to Use Organic Keywords to Increase Traffic to Your Website. It's a blog on our website, so feel free to click through once you receive the slides and go through it. I think that'll be very helpful as well. Towards the end of our call today, we're going to have a Q&A, so feel free to put your questions in the chat, and then we'll be able to answer some of those questions along the way, and then also in our Q&A portion of our call. So next, let's move on to the engagement report. The engagement report in GA4 provides insights into how many users interact with your website or app after they've been acquired. It focuses on metrics that reveal the depth of their user interaction, including how long they stay, what actions they take, and even how engaged they are with your content. So if you notice that a particular page has a high engagement rate but a low conversion rate, the engagement report can help you identify what might be missing or could be improved to convert that engagement into a desired action. And similarly, if certain events are not being triggered as expected, you can adjust your content or even your user interface to better guide individuals to those interactions that you want them to take. Here is another resource, a webinar that we did some time ago that talks about common website mistakes that a lot of businesses make. And I encourage you to go and look at that as well. Tips featured in that webinar can really help increase the engagement numbers that you'll see in the report in just a second. So as I bring up GA4, these are just some of the key components and metrics that we're going to see when we go to the report, from engaged sessions to engagement rate to the engagement time, etc. So let me go ahead and bring this over into the screen. Now, while the acquisition report tells us how people are finding us, the engagement report tells us what they're doing once they come to your website or your app. And so to access the engagement report, you stay within this life cycle area, and you just go down to the engagement section and click on engagement. And here you can choose overview to get a broad picture or dive into more specific data. Like for example, under landing page, you can go into some more specifics, and that's where I'm going to be for a few seconds here while I share that with you. And so in the landing page section of the engagement report, some key metrics to look at include sessions. And so this shows sessions that lasted longer than 10 seconds. People coming to your website and they stay on your website for at least 10 seconds. It's including people or sessions that included a conversion event, or maybe individuals looked at 2 or more pages within your website. And so if they completed any of those actions, then it's counted as a session. And you can also see average time per session, the average engagement time, which indicates how long users are staying engaged with your content. And we even have, like under events tab, event count, which I'll go through in a second. Here we have event count. As you can see, it's loading, there it goes. And that tracks the specific user actions like clicks, downloads, or video plays that people may be doing on your website. By clicking on pages and screens, you can see which pages or screens, if you have an app, are keeping users engaged. And that'll help you identify what content on your website is resonating most with your audience. So again, looking at this demo account from Google, we can see that they are getting the most views on or in the men's apparel section of their website. They're getting about 17,000 views. And we can see that the page that is engaging users the most, again, is the men's section and also the checkout section of their website. So that's really good. And we can probably see, and I'll show you a little bit later, how we can look at the gender demographics of this particular business website, and we'll probably see that the majority of the users on this website, perhaps identify as men because that's the most popular section of this website according to this engagement report. And then also you can see as well what sections of their website is not getting as much engagement. So you can see here the clearance section is not getting as many views as the men's section. And so for this business, only when people come to the clearance section of the website, they're only spending 39 seconds. And so if the objective of this business was to get rid of all of their clearance merchandise, this will be an indicator to say, well, maybe we need to look at how the clearance section appears on our website. Maybe it's hard for people to find, and then think of some things that we can do to bring that traffic up and then to keep people on that page a little bit longer. So that's a way that you can use the engagement report. Let me go back to the slides here. And here are several ways a business owner and marketers can leverage insights from the engagement report in a GA4. Number one, use the engagement report to analyze how users interact with your content, and that'll reveal what captivates their interest and what might be causing them to leave. And so that understanding will help you as a business owner or marketer pinpoint which elements of your site or your app is working well and which areas might need improvement. Number two, identify the most engaging pages or screens and then focus on optimizing your content strategy and your user experience based on the data that you see from the report. And enhancing popular features and improving areas where users tend to drop off can help you retain users and then boost your conversion rates. Number three, leverage engagement metrics to understand your user interactions with your product. That's another way that you can benefit from this particular report. And you can identify pain points, popular features, and other areas of improvement to make data-driven decisions that enhance your product and then increase user satisfaction with your product as well. And the fourth way that business can use GA4's engagement report is to enhance user engagement to impact your bottom line positively, right? So engaged users are more likely to make repeat purchases. And so you want to explore upselling opportunities. You want to try to convert them from free trials to paying customers. And when you do all of those things using the insights from this report, it can help you drive overall revenue growth. And the final suggestion is to use insights from the engagement report to identify which content or which products resonate the most with different audience segments. And then once you identify those different segments of your audience, you can tailor your marketing campaigns to promote those high engagement items and then optimize your messaging to drive better ROI as well as conversion rates. And here is, again, a best practice for optimizing anchor text for SEO blog. It's on our website. And so this really supports number two on the list. And so when you're trying to optimize your content, its layout, and that whole user experience, when you use some of these tips, it can make your website easier to navigate. The third report that every business could benefit from is the events report in Google Analytics 4. Now, the events report in GA4 provides detailed insights into user interactions on your website or your app. And so, unlike the previous versions of Google Analytics where specific actions like page views or clicks were tracked separately, GA4 tracks almost all user interactions as events. And so this report allows you to analyze the interactions to understand how users engage with your content and which actions are most common, and then how they contribute to your overall business goals as well. So suppose you've set up an event to track when users click on a sign up button on your website. The events report can show you how many users clicked that button, which pages or screens they were on when they clicked that sign up button, and then whether or not them clicking that sign up button actually led to a conversion. For example, them completing the sign up process. And so, if the event count is high, but the conversion rate is low, you might want to investigate potential barriers in that whole sign up process and make adjustments to improve your conversion rates. So the events report is where GA4 truly shines. And unlike previous versions of Google Analytics, GA4 is heavily event-based, meaning it tracks specific actions users take on your website or your app. And again, that can be anything from page views, them viewing an actual page, or clicks on buttons, video plays, and even form submissions. So let me pull my screen so I can show you what that looks like in real time in GA4. And as that loads, I'll just check in there. All right, cool. So back in GA4, to view this report, you want to stay within the engagement tab that we were on, and then you want to click into events. I'll let that load. And in the events report, you'll see a list of all the different tracked events here. So you'll see some of the default ones like page view. And so this is when a very simple action. A user is viewing a particular page that we've identified, right? That means if they're on the page and they're reading it, there's interest. Another one that you'll see down here is scroll. And so not only is a person coming to the page and looking at the information, they're scrolling down, and so they're really invested in the information and they're really consuming it. They're scrolling down a certain portion of the page. Also indicates it's a good sign, right, that they're moving in that right direction. You'll also see event count, and so this column shows how frequently each event occurs, giving you a sense of what actions are the most common among users. And so on this particular site, again, the most common actions that people are taking are they're coming to the website, they're viewing pages, they're viewing promotions, which is good. Their engagement levels are there. It's not as high as you probably want it to be. And then they're slowly moving down that funnel to select certain items. So, but here, the most things that people are doing are, I would say, like viewing promotions is good. That's in the top 4. So it shows some type of indication that they are having an intent to make a purchase, even if it's before they make the actual purchase. And so if you set up custom parameters like tracking the specific button as a user clicks, you can even dive deeper into the details of the user actions. You can even like click into these buttons here too. And so imagine that, like, if you've launched a new feature on your app, like a share button, you've added a share button in your app. By setting up an event for that button, you can track how often it's used and by whom, and if the share event for that particular event is low, it might even indicate that users aren't finding that feature valuable, or that it's not prominently placed on your website. And so again, if you want information as to how you can set up those parameters, just take a look at that previous webinar that I mentioned. All right, so going back to the slides, once you start to explore the GA4 events reports, here are 5 ways that your business can begin to start using these reports to benefit your business. Use the events report to monitor crucial interactions on your site, such as clicks on buttons, form submissions, or other critical user actions. And so this helps you understand how users engage with your content and which features are most valuable. Number 2, define and implement relevant events. So start by identifying the specific events that are essential for tracking user behavior on your site, such as purchases, downloads, or signups. And you can even implement event tracking accurately through like Google Tag Manager. So Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics sync well with each other. Number three, enhance the granularity of your data by setting up custom event parameters that I just mentioned. And so those parameters, when you put them into GA4, can add context to those events that you see, which allow you to have a deeper understanding of that user behavior. So for example, the type of content that was downloaded when a person submitted, when a person clicked a specific button. So you can add those parameters inside of GA4. And again, here's that webinar that I was mentioning. You can click through and again see the steps as to how to get that installed on your website. Number four, regularly analyze the events report because that'll help you gain insights into the user behavior, engagement, and their actions. And when you do that, you want to look for patterns. You want to identify those popular events that are being triggered, and you also want to see if you can spot any drop-offs in the whole user journey that might indicate like friction points for the buyer. And then last but not least, you want to use segmentation to analyze events by user groups such as demographics, traffic sources, or other relevant dimensions. Then you can compare the performance of those different events to understand which ones drive higher engagements, higher conversions, and then tailor your strategies accordingly. So those are the 5 ways you can begin to use the GA4 events report to benefit your business. The fourth and final report that we're going to look at is the retention overview report. Now, the retention overview report in Google Analytics 4 provides insight into how well your website or app retains users over time. And so it helps you understand the behavior of returning users compared to new users. And it allows you to track the effectiveness of your strategies and encouraging repeat visits to your website or continuous usage. And so you can do that when you focus on user retention rates. And this report shows you how to do that. And I'm sure you all have probably heard of that marketing principle that says customers need to see your brand at least 7 times before they commit to making a purchase decision. And in this day and age, it's probably 7 times 10, right? So they have to see your brand 70 times. But what this report can do, if you notice that there are if you notice that the retention drops significantly, like after the first week, this report can guide you into exploring ways to keep users engaged even after they've come to your website for that first time. And so strategies might include offering onboarding tutorials, sending targeted email campaigns to get people back onto your website, adding new features that could encourage users to return. And so this report helps you identify which cohorts also are most likely to return, and then highlights areas where your business may need to focus on making some improvements. And so I'm going to show you how to access this report in GA4. And again, here are some things that you just want to look out for and some key definitions for your use and reference. And again, so now you should see the GA4 open on your screen. And so to access this report, in the life cycle section, you click on retention, which is down here. And in the retention report, you'll see an overview report that summarizes how well your website or app retains users, including the average amount of time users spend on your website and are engaged, and when they were acquired, especially, and it shows like the traffic and tracks them for like the first 42 days. And so you'll see cards that are shown by default. And so some of these metrics cards that they're called include, you see this first tab, which is new users and returning users. The new users shows the number of people who visited your website or app for the first time. And the returning one shows, so for this particular website, within the last 42 days, 13,000 people have been to the website multiple times. Then we have this tab, the user retention by cohort, which shows how well your site or app retain users by a cohort. So a cohort is a collection of users who are grouped by some criteria. And in this case, the users are grouped by the day the user was acquired. And so the chart typically includes up to 3 lines, one for each cohort. So day 1, day 7, and day 30 lines typically show the average time spent on the website or the app after 1, 7, or 3 days since that person was acquired. And then you also have user engagement by cohort. And so this shows the average amount of time individuals were on your website or app after the time they were first acquired. And then we have the user retention tab, which shows the percentage of users who return each day in their first 42 days. And so the chart starts with 100% retention because that's like day 1. And then it shows what happens over time. It probably decreases over time, it drops off. And so with this particular website, you can see there's not a lot of people who are coming back. It's a small percentage over time, just not 0.2%. It's really low. So this particular business could do a little bit better in terms of trying to get people to come back to their website. Then you see user engagement. This shows the average engagement time of users who return to your website within the first 42 days. And only returning users are included in this report. And then the last metric card that you'll see in this retention overview report includes the lifetime value of a customer. And this shows if you have it set up with GA4, it can show you the revenue that was generated by new users over the first 120 days of them coming to your website. And so this chart can really help you determine how valuable users are based on the additional revenue that your business might generate. So for example, if a user purchases a shirt and then they purchase trainers the following week, the lifetime value shown here includes the revenue from both of those purchases, even though they were across a 2-week span. So that's really good and helpful to see as well. All right, so I know we're headed to time, so I'm going to go back to my slides really quickly and share this. So these are 5 ways your business can leverage the retention report in GA4 to enhance the strategies and improve just user retention in general. Number 1 includes using the retention overview to gauge how well your site or your app retains users over time. And that typically provides a good, clear indication as to how effective your engagement strategies are and can help you understand the loyalty of your user base. Number 2, track how different cohorts are behaving over time, so that way you can identify trends or patterns. And that can be used to inform your future strategies to enhance retention by revealing which tactics are working. Number 3, by understanding retention rates, you can inform and refine your content marketing. And so user experience strategies can also encourage repeat visits and long-term engagement if you use that information properly. And so if you optimize some content on your website, it can really make a difference in that whole user and buyer's journey. Number 4, if retention drops after a specific period, such as like the first week, you can use reports to investigate the potential issues with your onboarding process or your user experience. And then finally, when you utilize the GA4 retention report, you can implement personalization strategies that deliver personalized experiences based on user preferences and behaviors. And so personalized content and offering personalized recommendations can significantly enhance user interaction and drive repeat visits. So those are just some of the ways you can utilize the retention report. So before we move on and we wrap up here, I just want to recap some of the practical applications that a business can use the standard reports that are available in GA4. And so again, the 4 key reports that every business needs to have. You have the user acquisition report, which helps you identify the most effective channels for driving traffic. You have the engagement report. This report provides insights into how users interact with content, guiding your content as well as your user experience strategies. The events report allows you to track specific actions, helping you to optimize features as well as user flows. And then finally, the retention report gives you a clear picture of user loyalty and highlighting areas where you can improve your long-term engagement strategies. So these are 4 key GA4 reports that every business needs and can use to measure the effectiveness of their marketing strategies and help inform the decisions that you're making for your business. So as we wrap up, don't forget that we have these helpful resources available. So if you still have questions, especially the on-demand webinar that we have available, it can answer some of the questions that you may have as well as offer you some step-by-step actions that you can take. And then one other thing that I want to encourage everyone to do as you leave, and we're going to put this into the chat. I'll put this into the chat for the entire audience. Here is a free tool that we have on our website. You go to it, you put your website address in, and within 3 to 5 minutes, it's going to give you a full report of over 100 factors categorized in 5 categories, from on-page SEO, links, performance, usability. It's a great tool that'll help you figure out, like, from where your website is now, what are the improvement areas that your business could take so that you can rank higher organically in search engines. So it's a great guide. It'll only take about 3 minutes to do. I encourage you to just click on that link and put your website address in, and then it'll give you a report that you can take into your meetings and talk about and talk from some actionable areas that your business can improve to come up organically in search engines and in results. So I'm going to go over for just 5 minutes because we do have a few questions that have come through. I appreciate individuals from our team who have answered some of the questions. One question that came through that I do want to make sure I answer is how can GA4 help with SEO strategies specifically? I thought that was a really good question. And one thing I would say is take into GA4 to analyze your organic traffic is really important. The acquisition report can be used to monitor the volume and the behavior of users who are coming from your organic search. And that can tell you how well your SEO efforts are driving traffic. When you look at the acquisition report, you can see which pages on your website are high traffic, which pages are attracting the most organic traffic. And so then you can optimize that type of content to create more content that's just like it. And you can also use that information to refine your keywords as well as strategies. And then also, if you have an SEO strategy, you should definitely integrate and connect your Google Search Console account with your GA4 account, so that way you can get detailed insights about the search queries that are driving traffic to your website, and you can then identify keywords that have high impressions but low clicks, and then optimize your pages to improve the rankings. So just wanted to make sure we answered that. So we had a few more questions. I do want to be respectful of everyone's time, so we will take all the questions that everyone submitted and put them to a blog, and we'll make sure that we answer all of them after this session within 24 hours. You'll receive today's webinar recording as well as the slides. So again, thank you everyone for taking the time to join us today. I hope that we were able to answer as many of your questions as we could that you had about this new GA4. And as you're exiting, don't forget, if you still need help, you can let us know, because we can connect you with a LOCALiQ digital marketing expert, as well as when you exit this the webinar, you can let us know how you felt today's content and webinar presentation was for you. So again, thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you on our next webinar. Have a great day.